How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff. This is our Monday through Friday UAP news channel where we try to cover everything going on. And man, there was a lot that dropped today. And I know it's a little later of an episode for a lot of people. So maybe the East Coast peeps are checking this out, maybe even tomorrow. But a lot going on. There's a lot going on. There were so many different stories to go through, but there was actually one that came through at the end of yesterday that I was like, "Oh, that came in after we did our story. I have to cover it." So there's so many other stories that came out today that I'll probably cover tomorrow. But the hearings, man, the hearings are super, super important. Are they going to go down? We'll find that out soon, I think. And that's going to be the basis of this story. Before we get into it, we just hit 25,000 subscribers. Now the push is to get to 50,000. We want more people talking about this thing. We want to grow this show out. We want this to be one of the places that you guys get the news from every day, and we can keep people updated on it so people keep talking about it. And that is how you help. Comment, like, subscribe, help us get there, because I get these great comments from you guys each and every video of people who are excited that we're doing this and that you're able to talk about it somewhere. There's more people out there that haven't found it. And when you subscribe, they will know about it because it pops it into the algorithm. Okay. So I mentioned the hearings, man. The hearings are very important. And it's been a year, by the way, since David Grusch first presented himself in the Ross Coulthart interview last June. And then the hearings, of course, happened not soon after that. Well, there's been talk about if there's going to be another public hearing and who would appear. Well, Matt Laslo, who really is one of the best. He's one of the best, and he's able to. He's in Washington. He's asking people all the time about these things. Well, he just had Tim Burchett on his show, and he talked to Tim Burchett, and he asked him about that. And there was a couple things that Tim Burchett said in this interview. All right, so Matt spoke with Tim Burchett. He called into the show, and they talked about a lot of different things, a lot of different things. And so I'll read some of this off here too, and you can listen to the full interview on Ask A Pol. I'll put the link in the description also. But a few different things. Let's just go here. Tim Burchett joined Ask A Pol's live listening with Laslo on the Discord channel. The congressman wasn't able to log into Discord, so they called an audible. They got some duct tape, and Laszlo then moderated questions from Ask A Pol subscribers with the congressman on speakerphone. So they said, "Are they crafting a whistleblower protection measure?" And he says, "Yes, we talked about that." Burchett tells Ask A Pol subscribers, "We're working with some legal people and trying to get something a little better than what's out there." He said David Grusch gave a list of cooperative and hostile witnesses. What have they done with that list? And so Burchett says that's going to be part of the next hearing. Some of those folks, I'm afraid to give out too many names because you know what happened the last time we had like 12 people that were coming in. We ended up with three. Burchett said to Ask A Pol exclusively, we had some people that were scared. He confirms that the UAP caucus wants Tim Gallaudet to testify. He said there's a Navy admiral who's been real vocal here lately. Burchett says he was involved in an incident. I can talk about it now because he's talked about it on the national news. There was a sighting, and he was in this chain of information. They also asked if there was any update on the caucus trying to hire David Grusch. He said that we are not clear to have any budget like that, Burchett says, but I don't know what that would get us anyway. So Burchett also says he's dubious of Schumer's UAPDA amendment. He says, I don't think that's a good idea. And he said, what do you think of Robert Garcia's introducing Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's UAPDA amendment to the NDAA? He says, I just don't see it doing much. He's a Democrat, Burchett says. Again, I want disclosure. I don't want bureaucracy. I'm sick of it. 50 pages or 60 pages of bureaucracy to say release it. Obviously, they're putting something in there when they're not going to be releasing it. So they also talked about questioning the Secretary of Department of Energy. She's lying or she's inept. Any update on the actual UFO hearing, when that will be? He said, we just got a set date and we're going to start focusing on that. I'm going to be working on that this week. The UAP caucus wants to hear from Tim Gallaudet. We said that. He also talked about the SCIF meetings. He said, you bring somebody into the SCIF and they tell you something, then it's in secret. They're not allowed to discuss it. And that's the way they lock this stuff down. All right. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot of information in there. And I think that The most important is that they're working on another hearing. They have a date for it. So that's pretty big. That's pretty much a date's confirmed here. They just got to figure out exactly when it's going to be. Now, Matt asked him at one point, will it be August? And he was kind of like, no, not necessarily. No, I'm working on it right now. So we'll see how that's going to happen. He said a bunch of things in that interview, by the way, also that we've been saying here is that you've got to do something so big in this hearing. You've got to do something where he says, he's like, they're not, people aren't going to be happy until there's like, whether it's bodies or ships or whatever it might be. Now, whether or not they're going to present that, who the hell knows? Probably not. But he's aware that you're not going to get people really back in this thing until something like that happens. Now, a few things that stood out inside of this, and a few of the things that I read out there, was when he asked about David Grusch, and he said, "Is he going to be working for the UAP caucus?" And he's like, "We tried, but we don't have a budget for it." So right away, they're kind of strong arming them there, and they're not getting budget for this thing because people aren't taking it seriously enough. He said there's people that he mentions at one point some 25-year-old kid with a man bun or something who's telling him how UAPs don't exist. So there is also this kind of pushback there. And the thing that he said, I was like, well, what are you talking about? He said, there's two things he said. The one thing that he said that I don't know, when he's talking about David Grusch, like, I don't know what that would get us anywhere. I'm like, anyway, what are you talking about? Yeah, this guy working with the caucus in general and having this kind of information and being able to be there seems like it'd be very helpful. The other thing he said that I was like, we've got to stick to what this hearing was all about. And I like what Tim Burchett has been doing for the UAP movement. He's been crucial in it, but it got a little political for me when he was saying, in when they were talking about the thing that Robert Garcia passed, and whether or not, the other day we covered it here, and he said, I don't think it's going to go down because there's going to be people that are going to be getting in the way of it and this and that. That's fair to say. I say that. I mean, everybody says that. But when he's like, "Well, I don't know what the point of it is. He's a Democrat, and it's not gonna." The way that it plays is that if someone from the opposing team puts it out there, it should be us doing it. Because he said that a few different times. He's like, "Well, we're the ones that are getting traction on it. Don't make it about that. I don't give a crap about the left and the right on this thing. I don't give a crap about it. It's irrelevant. So if you start making it political, you're gonna. I mean, it's it's all political. But if you're gonna start battle, you're going to lose me because the whole thing is I want the fact that this thing was bipartisan. Who cares who gets it passed? If somebody gets it passed, if somebody who believes that clowns are from outer space and that they serve pizza on the moon, but that's the person who gets the thing passed, who cares who did it? That's irrelevant. In the same way that if Schumer is going, I mean, look, people are saying this stuff all the time. I get it when I cover somebody like Matt Gaetz when he did something where he was trying to push things forward. People are like, oh, I don't, Matt Gaetz, I don't like his politics. I don't care about the politics. I care about what they're trying to do. You see me on this channel. This isn't a political channel when it comes to the right and the left. I don't care about it. It's about because to me, ultimately, if all this stuff comes out and we find out the greater answers, it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. If it is what we all hope and think that it could be, that there's greater answers out there, who cares about these ideals that these two sides have? Who cares? But the other things that he said, and he's talked about this when he's outside, he's discussed. There was one time someone of News Nation asked him about what happened last time. There were supposed to have all these different whistleblowers, and he said, "Well, NASA got a hold of it, went to the whistleblower, said don't do that." They got freaked out and they didn't do it. So he hasn't been giving names. He's been adamant about that. Respect the hell out of that. But when Matt Laslo said, "Hey, there's all these names that David Grusch talked about. Where are these people?" He's like, "Those are going to be the people that show up the next time." But he's not giving names. So, I mean, I'm sure that somebody could do due diligence and find a list and try to contact some of these people if they really wanted to, but they don't know who it is and exactly. So that's interesting that they're going to have a slew of guests, you least a guest, slew of whistleblowers and people that they want to testify there. Now, the other thing is, and this is something that I'm excited about because Tim Gallaudet, who they mention in this, Tim Gallaudet was on my show a few months ago, and I asked him point blank, would you testify? He said without blinking, yes, I would. He's mentioned it on other shows that he's been on. And they Burchett says he wants him. Now, that's the type of thing, though, sometimes that I say. Now, I've only been following this thing for a year. Okay. And when I was talking to Thomas Jane about it, I know, and you guys will know too, and I understand the frustration sometimes when I'll mess up a name or I'll say something and whatever, and you go, oh, it's actually this, this, this. I get it. I feel like this guy should know Tim Gallaudet's name like that. He had to find it. And it was Matt Laslo said, was it Tim Gallaudet? He's like, that's who it is. So, and I also know the guy's not just working on this. He's got tons of other things that he's working on. I get it. But in my mind, and I'm sure a lot of people, especially like I just said, if it turns out that this thing is what we think, what we hope, what we, that there's greater answers out there, I just feel like they're going to look back on it in hindsight and said, why were we working on anything else for all those years except this? Because they were hiding the secret. That's why. And they had these group of people that were fighting for it. And at the same time, they had to make a living for their family, so they couldn't focus on it entirely. So I understand that. But there's so much in this interview, and there's so much that he said. But the question is, like, I think that the stuff that comes out of this is the hearing itself is going to happen. We are going to get another one. People have been saying that it's going to happen. It looks like there's a confirmed date. It looks like Tim Gallaudet would be one of those people. I assume Carl Nell will be one of those people. There'll be these other people inside of it. What will they say? Will there be information about um, the crash retrieval programs? There's a lot here. So I'm going to put the full interview link in it because it's about 45 minutes. You guys should check it out and listen to it. But that's it. Please put your comments in there. Tell me what you think about it. I appreciate you being here with me today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'll see you back here tomorrow. And as I always say, we don't have a Patreon right now anyway, but we do have a sponsor. And if you get that sponsor, what does it do? Why would I get a sponsor? What do I care about getting pants? Well, if you do, it helps out the show. It keeps us going. It allows us to keep getting as where it looks like the UAP caucus doesn't have funding. We can get funding if you guys wind up getting some of these sponsors. So let me tell you about them, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. The other day, my wife walked in. She said, whoa, where those jeans come from? Those are amazing. Those are nice. I said, that's right. It's the perfect jean, baby. Love the perfect jean. Perfect jean makes great looking, perfect fitting jeans, and they're stretchy and they're nice, and they hug your assets in the perfect place. They really do. It's got special denim fabric. It's very soft. It's really great. I've been wearing these and it's super comfortable and they look good. And that's what I needed. And I got it. Trust us when we say these really are the perfect jeans. Because once you try them, you're never going to go back. For a limited time only, my listeners are going to get 15% off their first order plus free shipping. We got to go to theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use the code DTE for 15% off. I love it. I put them on and I was curious at first because they were like, stretchy jeans, does those work? And they do. They feel super comfortable. They look good. And I like wearing them. Super stretchy and great. I felt good, man. Felt good wearing them, and I can move around in them, and I like that. They fit great. Make sure you go to theperfectjean.nyc and use that code DTE. 15% off. Get it.